Hello and welcome. Today's guest is a former foster child, NFL football player, competitor on American Ninja Warrior, best-selling author, sought-after speaker, media host, shift coach, and entrepreneur. Host of the Shift podcast and author of the best-selling book, Identity Shift, Upgrade How You Operate to Elevate Your Life. He is regularly interviewed in print and on podcasts, television shows, and stages around the world. Speaking on leadership, resilience, motivation, peak performance, mindset, and diversity, he uses the challenges he's overcome and the lessons he's learned along the way to inspire and empower global audiences. From being a child in foster care to playing in the NFL to becoming a successful business owner, he has accomplished what statistics would say is impossible. As a keynote speaker and identity shift coach, he uses cutting-edge science and psychology to teach people how to access the power of their identity, to expand their capacity, tap into their full potential, and make shift happen. Please welcome Anthony Trucks.
Hello.
Welcome.
That's an amazing introduction. I'm not gonna lie. That's so well done. I'm like I want to meet this guy. He seems like a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. He is a very, very cool guy. And I am honored to spend this time together. So first, I want to say congratulations on being named by Success Magazine as being one of the top 25 inspiring leaders in business and personal development to watch in 2022. That is awesome. Well
Yeah,
done.
I
Congrats.
appreciate that. It was a fun one to get. I didn't know it was coming, and then I was like, someone's like, "You're in a magazine." I'm like, "What magazine am I in?" And it's people that are subscribed to it that follow. So I go to like the local Barnes and Nobles and I find the magazine. I'm like, "Oh!" I told my kids, "Look it! I told you I'm cool, kids." So
Yeah, and Success Magazine, and in their 125th anniversary edition. That is amazing. Very, very well deserved, my friend.
thank you.
Very well deserved.
I appreciate it. I'm not taking it. It took me a lot of years to be able to actually say thank you and accept it. So I received that. Thank you.
Now, you have had several identities over the course of your life's journey. I referenced some in your opening.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few of them.
Yeah. Let's do. Which one
So,
do you know about?
wow, foster care at 3.
Yeah, that's not a fun one. It's
No,
it's not a
let's
fun
just
one.
go right there. What was your earliest memory, and
Yeah.
how did that shape your early years?
So the first memory is actually of being given away. I do remember it oddly. I can tell you the layout of my house when it all took place. It's one of those things where I found out later when you have, traumatizing type experiences, they sear themselves into your brain. So my first memory of life, where most people, it's like I was hanging out with mom or we're going to the beach or something. Mine was like my mom giving me and my siblings away. And so that's an initial identity just that you start with. And no matter what it is in the beginning, that thing, it gets rooted and a seed grows from that of who
Mhm.
you see yourself to be. So for many years, I've dealt with abuse, starvation, torture in the foster care system. And so when I was older, I didn't think and I say older, not much, 8, 9, 10 to 14, I didn't think I deserved much. I didn't think I was worth very much. I harbored this sense of like I was a burden to most of the world. And it was tough because that, as much as I would say it disappeared when I got a chance to go to college, NFL, it took till my early 30s to actually feel like I had a worth to the world that was beyond just my ability to play sports. And so for me, that identity was the first one of I don't belong. Anytime anybody's felt like I don't belong for whatever reason, that was my starting identity.
Mhm. And when did that shift for
Uh,
you?
it shifted. So I think it shifts many different times, different ways. To think that I don't belong, that first one shifted when I was able to get to the point of getting like a college scholarship. So high
Mm.
school, I didn't belong. I was, the first time I was around people that looked like me, I was adopted by an all-white family. I was adopted, into this realm where the community didn't look like me. I was the only person on my elementary school that looked like me. And so I never felt like I actually fully belonged. Now I did feel loved in my home, but it wasn't like this anchored, like, oh, I'm here. And in fact, my first couple of years of playing football, when I was trying to find my space of where I belonged, I wasn't very good. And it wasn't until I had this off season where I I kind of got tired of not feeling like I mattered. And I just put this weird level of effort and energy into being great that I came back the next year and was just a dominant force when I played. And so that was the moment in time where I felt like not only did I belong, but I'd risen to the top of my group, my peers. I was the best player on the team, played
Mhm.
well. And so that was the first like, oh, I do belong. I do have a space in this world. And this is my space in this football field.
Yeah. And that must have been quite an adjustment from feeling like you don't belong, feeling like you don't have a place in the world, to then being adopted at 14 by an all white family that had children of their own.
Yeah.
So, what what was that experience like for you when you're bringing in this identity already of I don't belong, and then you don't look like them, you're not biologically
Mhm.
related, and you're coming into this environment where you feel loved, but there's still that not quite belonging. How did you navigate that? Because I know that's something that so many people struggle with. I think they could benefit from your insight.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I do what I do now, and I share these stories because I know people will benefit. Like, it doesn't always benefit me to share it, to be quite honest,
Mhm.
but it is I do realize that there's a lot within my story that I didn't realize was a benefit to the world. So, I mean, at this time, we're talking from the age of 6 years old to 14, I was in this family, and we were really poor, by the way. So on top of that, we didn't have much. I was the kid that we had bags from the Goodwill that we would have. Like, they'd give us bags, like, we didn't have much of anything. And so in this whole realm, you feel like I'm a poor kid. I had holes in my shoes. I got this, nasty fro because I couldn't afford to get my hair cut. Like, didn't have much. That also didn't look like them. And I think what you do is you find a way to just sheerly survive. I think
Mhm.
that's what a lot of life is you're just surviving. And when you're surviving, you're not in a joyous, fulfilled, happy space. And so because of that, the actions you take, they aren't hopeful. Right,
Mhm.
if and it's also the world is a reflection of what you believe you deserve for the most part. So I believe like this is what I deserve, this is what it's supposed to be. So I didn't aspire to more, I didn't shoot for more. It was just go to school and try to get by and do my thing and go home. And it ends up being this really lackluster existence. And
Mhm.
now while I had this happen as a kid, a lot of people are surviving in adulthood.
Yeah.
They're in relationships they don't want to be in, they're in careers they don't want to be in, they don't like how they look in the mirror. And the truth of the matter is we get normalized to this pain. They say the evil you know is better than the evil you don't.
Mm.
And at that time in my life, that was the evil that I knew. I didn't know the evil above, and I didn't wanna get, this energy to shoot up just to be shoved back down. And I even at the base of me was like, my own mom didn't want me. So what makes me think that I should do and be great things? And so that was kind of the thought. And to be honest, what was the biggest, like we'll call it pivot, the thing that people have to look into was I look at all those emotions and feelings as a level of suffering.
Mm.
Whether it's a suffering of not feeling like I matter, a suffering of not be able to eat because you have food, a suffering that comes in the form of feeling like the world doesn't like you, you don't feel accepted by a tribe or a group, whatever it is. And as tribal, beings, we need that. So when you are suffering in that manner, the worst thing you can do is nothing. The survival is the doing of nothing. It's the passionless work. And what I found was what I did to go from that didn't feel like I belonged to that time when I was playing, being an amazing all-star, was quite literally just an uncomfortable set of actions. That's what a lot of us don't do. It's like when you don't feel like doing the thing, that's when you absolutely have to do the thing. That's why I believe that action ends suffering. It
Yeah,
may not be the first one.
absolutely.
Yeah, it may not be the seventh one, but one will end the suffering.
Yeah, one step at a time, right? You take action, and action begets action, and action begets clarity, and action is how you get momentum,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
didn't you went from not really knowing how to play football to deciding
Yeah.
that you had had enough and that you were going to put in the work,
Mhm.
and then emerging because you took action, because you made a decision, because you put in the work, to then being this all-star and getting your full scholarship to play in college, and then, going
Yeah.
on to the NFL.
And there's that because that you said, but there's so much weight in the because. Because here's what I realize about human beings. When we look at what we do, we will battle for what we believe we deserve, right? I will
Mhm.
fight for it. If my piece of pie, I'm taking the piece of pie, don't touch my pie, right? And if we have a high deserving level, we'll fight for it. But we also will fight for what we believe we deserve, even if it's down low. So if you believe you deserve more, you'll fight for mediocrity. You'll fight to stay small. You'll have the fear of success, in fact. And so what I realized over my time when I was in the process of trying to take the actions or taking them, it wasn't this thing where I took the action and goes, I'm gonna all of a sudden feel it. It's this what I call investment bias. As humans, we have this investment bias. If I give something, I want to return. If I give money, I want something back, whatever I paid for or an investment. In actions, it's the emotion. And when I said unconfident, usually it's that unconfident action I take that I don't feel great about now, but I take it and I feel a little bit better. And over time, I do it. I'm investing. And what happens is over time, the unconfident action that didn't feel like it was me to do in the first place, the return ends up being, this is who I am now. And when I talk about this investment bias or that deserving, the more work you do in the dark, the more that level rises to a level of deserving. To where when I got in that football field, I had this mentality of I had done too much work in the dark for you to
Yeah.
take what was mine in the light. This is my football, my play. I'm going to win. But it wasn't because I woke up and said, you deserve it. It's because I did that dark, unconfident action work over time.
Yeah, it's you put in the time, you put in the work. It's that drive, that determination, and that discipline that you had to do the thing when you didn't want to do it.
All day
To
long.
get up and hit the gym when you didn't want to hit the gym, when you were tired, when the weather wasn't great, when maybe you weren't feeling so hot. Like you committed, you made a decision, you took action, you committed to yourself,
Mhm.
and then you developed those muscles of that discipline.
Yeah. You have to. If you don't, then at the end of the day, you're not going to have the outcome. And this is this is not new information is a hard thing. What you're saying, and I hear people say, they go, I've heard it before. And I go, yeah, you've heard it before, but did you listen to it? Right? Because the idea is we all get to this point of like I took the action, committed to it, I was, desired, and I was, all and I think in that moment we're actually looking for a commitment to the end destination to motivate me to keep moving. And I think that is the wrong focus when you hear that. I think what you should be saying is, how do I stay? You said discipline, disciple, plan, right? To follow a plan, right? So the idea is like, how do I stay in a space of following a plan? First, have a plan. Most people don't. We just have this emotion that drives us. I'm going to determine. I'm willpower's going to get me there. No, have a plan, right? Secondly, I'm really big on you got to fall in love with the day, not the destination. The
Oh, that is
destination.
a mic drop moment. Say that again.
You gotta fall in love with the day, not the destination. Because if you fall in love with the destination, then you'll hate the days to get there. It's like you're gonna climb a mountain, and if you hate the entire climb of the mountain, the peak, you're not gonna be there very long. It's not even worth the travel. But if you love every step of the hike of the mountain and seeing the animals, and all, then what happens all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm at the top of the mountain. This is cool. It's a cherry on top. But then you go, you know what? I want to go back to climbing more mountains. And you fall in love with the process of the day, like the minutia that people hate, you love. And so what happens is you climb more mountains, you have more peaks. But if you only love the destination, you'll hate climbing, which means you don't get to have as many peaks.
Absolutely. So, how do you find the joy in the moments of the day of the journey?
Yeah. You find them on purpose. You said that. Look, Lily, you have to find them. There are a lot of things that I do on a daily basis I do not thoroughly enjoy. This is just the nature of the world we live in.
Yeah.
And what I find is a lot of people are trying to, how do I want to just all of a sudden like it? No, you have to go seek something and you'll find it. Because if not, you'll seek what your brain goes out to find. If you're looking at something going, I hate this, you'll always find things you hate. If you go, I'm going to find a way to love this, you'll find things that you love. There are certain, we'll call it honeydews my wife asks me to do. And there's things where I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to go take that action, right? But I go, you know what? There's this album I've been looking at listening to. So I'm gonna play that in the background while I go and do this work. Or you know what? My wife wants me to go help her at one of her businesses. Like, I'm going to go because I get to spend a half hour there and a half hour back hanging with my wife. Let's go do that. I purposely seek to find the joy within it. And when you have that focal point, you're getting what you want out of the effort you give. So, yes, the byproduct will be the task I don't want to do gets it done, but I'm not in it for the byproduct of this task. I'm in it for the reason I set out, which was to spend time or listen to the album. And when I do that on purpose, I have a lot more joy in life. And I have a lot more perspective that filters and sees things that could be negative as more positive. So I have more enjoyment in life, and then I'm actually enjoying the steps of the day. And then I'm not having this burnout at the end. And I think a lot of people, like, they are creeping towards burnout or holding short of it every single day. And it's burnout's an emotion. It's how you feel based on what you're doing. And if all of a sudden a thing that was hard to do becomes difficult to not do, there's no more burnout. It's enjoyment, right? It's like you could be the person that hates working out and it drives you insane and you get in shape, you go, I hate this, and you blow back up, or you go, man, I love working out. I can't imagine a day not working out. Well, you stay in shape for longer, you're healthy, you live, like there's a difference there. And really it's just a matter of perspective and also who you see yourself to be in time.
One, I love your notion of taking advantage of net time,
Yeah.
right? You mentioned, well, if you've wanted to listen to this album, listen to it while you're doing the honeydew list, the
Mhm.
tasks that maybe you don't love. Now you're feeding your soul, you're in doing some self-care
Yeah.
because that you wanted to do that album. That album is gonna give you, give you the vibes and the feels, and you're gonna get in the groove, and it's gonna give you energy and all the things, right?
Yeah.
So you're taking advantage of the time that you would be doing something that maybe in and of itself wouldn't bring you joy, and intentionally layering in things that would bring you joy. So you are conditioning yourself to find the joy, right? It's a muscle.
Mhm.
You are being intentional about how you're layering that in.
Yeah.
You are taking advantage of no extra time. You also referenced taking advantage of, like, reframing the perspective to take advantage of that drive time to spend quality time with your wife, to be
Yeah.
able to connect. I mean, what an amazing gift that is. So I love how what you're telling the audience to do is control your perspective,
Yeah.
right? To make intentional choices, to take advantage of net time, of the no extra time, the things you can layer in. You also essentially referenced habit stacking, right?
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you layer in these things so that you are creating the routines that sustain the habits, whether that's, gym or finding joy?
I have like this infatuation with focus. Like if you think about whenever we're like in a flow state and time melts away, it almost feels like it's like I'm nourished.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I could have been in focus for the last hour writing a book that's been tough to write. But when I get that past that first 5 minutes, right? It's like the thought of I don't want to do it, but I just get in and I start to just pay attention and dial and I focus on it. All of a sudden it melts away. The album is just flowing. I'm in groove. I'm talking to my wife. I don't even none of the rest of the stuff is there. I'm in such a focused flow. I think distraction just it kills us. Like with distraction, our energy dies because it's like I'm all over the place and I feel drained and right. But if I can just get rid of it all and just focus, there's like this immersive, clean, like nourishing space there, and so much more gets done. And so for me, what I'm trying to do really with all those things, like I need something to focus on when we go into these things and all I'm focusing on is negative, I will find ways to get my phone out and I'll do different stuff. And you're distracted. And now the thing didn't get done. So now you feel guilty because it didn't get done. And you're behind the schedule. Now you have anxiety and there's stress, there's arguments. Or I could have chose to focus on something positive, which gets me in that space of like, and I say infatuation, like that's a different, like you should feel that word, like, I love that. And then I'm there, and then I'm like, oh, now I get done, and that thing got completed. I enjoy while doing it. I've made more progress. I have more peace, and I got a great energy to move forwards.
Yeah. So powerful. So powerful. And these are things that everyone can do,
All
right?
day.
It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what resources you have. You can control your focus, you can choose what you're focusing on, you can develop your discipline muscle, your perspective muscle. You can find the gratitude, you can find the joy. I mean, these are amazing things that I think so many people need right now
Mhm.
after the last 2 years and what's going on in the world, to have the power to make shift happen.
Yeah. Yep, you gotta have them. I mean, that's the thing is, I love you say that. I love that makeshift. It's my thing. I love makeshift happen. If you remove the F, people get what that means to make shift happen. But none of that happens without action being taken and momentum being created. And with all the things we're saying, yes, people know like I should be able to get focused and discipline. The hard part is, to be quite honest, people don't go through any kind of stages. They just sit down and go, I got to get this done. And that's what they do. They sit down and now the onslaught of all the things they should have prepared for, should have done, it comes pouring down on them. And they get to these space of anxiety and frustration and overwhelm. And all of a sudden they're trying to just survive the day and then distract themselves with a TV show and a bottle of alcohol, right? There's these things that kind of pop in. And so for me, the most important thing for someone going, okay, Ant, how do I find a way to get focused? Like, cool, just sit down and plan out that hour. Don't just go block time. I'm gonna write a podcast, make a podcast on Friday. No, 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 no. Like sit down and go, hey, what are the steps to making a podcast? How much time is it going to take? Like spend an hour, 2 hours before you even move into action on just planning out what it looks like. And then you can sit down and if you could focus what it is, you can now focus on just that hour. And it allows you to be at easier focus to get more done. You can actually make progression over time. But when you are focusing and you have too much to focus on, you are killing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much focus, too much to focus on equals distraction.
All day long. It will.
It equals distraction or analysis paralysis
Yeah.
or, overwhelm, all the things that happen that then nothing gets done. We touched on it earlier you've had several different identities,
Yeah.
identities in your life's journey. And you have, through all of them, had to cultivate the ability to pivot and to shift them.
Mhm.
So for people who are saying, oh, well, he can talk about all this stuff. He was an NFL player,
Yeah, I hate that one.
which, people think that.
Yeah.
And while that was true, that's not your identity. That's not the identity that you hold on to.
No.
What was the shift in your identity from being an NFL player
Mhm.
to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, the first one is to realize that over time, all of us have led into an identity. It either happens by chance or by choice. Most of us happens by chance. We read something, saw something, learned something as a kid, beliefs instilled in us, right? So there was a journey of identities of being a young father, meet my real father, all the stuff to get into, being the first one of my family to go to college. My mom's, sick, my adoptive mom. And so all this stuff leading into the NFL. And you get into the NFL, and it's weird. Like that's one of those ones that's like an anchored identity. It's who
Yeah.
you are. I'm an NFL player, like that's one you want to put in a plaque. And then at some point in time, again, by choice or by chance, you lose it. So I had an injury and my career ended and I came home and I was like, well, who is Anthony without football? Like I'm nobody, right? I was football. And then like I'd say like the fruit of the tree, I was the apple and the apple fell off the tree and it rotted eventually. And then it took me time to realize what you've just kind of said is we have never been the fruit. We have always been the tree.
Mm.
And for me, when I was only looking at that one piece of fruit, I lost sight of the tree and the rest of the fruit. So I didn't water it or give it nutrients or prune the branches. So the marriage fell apart. My health fell apart. Everything fell apart. Business was tanking like I wasn't anything, all because I'd lost sight of what really was producing the fruit, which was me. And so the biggest shift I had was in 2016 when I woke up and go, I don't like who I am. Like I feel guilty. I feel ashamed of the person that I am. And for some reason, I couldn't like see the path out. I'd been doing the things, buying the courses, reading the books, all this stuff. And I go, I don't like me. What is going on? And the more I looked at it, I was just like, well, I hadn't been taking the actions in the direction of what would be my level of joy or my greatness. Right. I was doing what I had to do to survive. And in that spot, I did the first thing that we all have to do. I finally saw me. Like we end up being in funky places, but still doing work and going, why is it that I'm not getting farther ahead? I'm doing the work, I'm doing the thing. Well, yeah, but you're doing the stuff that you kind of feel comfortable doing, or the stuff that doesn't scare you, or you're doing the things you saw somebody else do.
Mhm.
It's not your work. If you don't do your work, you can get tired and get nowhere. So for me, I had to take the really hard, critical, ego-based look and go, where do I need to stop my ego from showing up, stop being in denial and go, I got to work on this specific thing that may poke my soul, but it's got to be done. And so I found those things. And when you notice those, it is not fun. We all have friends, they'll tell us too. We cut the friends off. Oh, you don't support me. No, no, maybe they support you enough to tell you what you need to hear,
Yeah.
not what you want to hear. And so in that moment, I was like, okay, this guy that I've been is not a guy I want to be later on. So
Mhm.
I got to take a look now. Well, how do I change that? I can't wish it to change. I can't pray it to change. I got to do things that don't feel comfortable. Same as I did when I was in high school or college or the NFL. So I found these things to do. And the more I did them, the more I invested, the more the return came of a bias of like, I'm not a bad guy anymore. I'm a present husband. I'm a great father. I can do that. And I started building and building. And then now here's the big thing we don't create for ourselves. We don't create proof.
Mm.
We have proof of all the things we can't do. We can see it all day long. And that stops us from creating positive proof. I had to create more positive proof. And the more I created, the more it created me. And I think that is this cycle. I've learned that what you create creates you.
That is another mic drop moment. Repeat that.
Yeah.
We want to make sure nobody
Yeah.
misses that. That's
Yeah.
so profound.
And that's kind of where the identity stuff came to land for me, is what you create creates you. It's when you create the sculpture, a million times, you're not just a guy that made sculptures, you're a sculptor.
Yes.
When you've gotten the boxing, ring, the first day you're not a boxer, but the first 10 years, oh, you're a boxer now, right? And it didn't happen on day one. It happened over the progression of investment to where now I am that, and you will protect what you believe you deserve. And this is where we've got to start looking at the things we do. And so when I go back, like it had all the tools, everything at my fingertips, but I didn't identify as the guy that could do the things. So I didn't take the actions. And I had this, what I call limited capacity in my identity. The identity ties to our human capacity of the ability to mentally and physically power, produce, and perform, or even operate, right? So if I can't power production, if I can't power, performance, or I can't power my operation because I don't have this mental or physical ability or capacity, well, it doesn't matter what I want to do, what I have a dream of doing. My identity's not in that space. I don't get the dream. So if your identity doesn't match the dream, you don't get it. And a lot of it ties to, what are the actions? What capacity must I increase or expand to be able to do these things? And eventually over time, feel like that's who I am.
Yeah, taking that action, right? So, tying into your point of what's your capacity. Some of our audience might go, "Well, I don't know what my capacity
Yeah.
is." So, what I hear you saying is, get the books, do the courses, ask the questions, find the mentors, put yourself into proximity with communities or groups where the possibility is expanding, where you're able to look at someone else and go, oh, they can do it. And this is how they're doing it.
Mhm.
And then, success leaves clues, right? So asking for the help, being in the proximity, because to your earlier point, when you can see it, and you see the positive proof that at least a pathway exists, at least somebody is doing the thing that you desire to do, then it opens up that possibility for yourself that, hey, if they can do it, maybe I could do it.
Yeah. That's the first part of it. If you don't believe it's possible, you won't commit to the actions of it. So being around individuals, like we always say, the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I don't think that's true. I think you're the average of the expectations of the 5 people. If their expectations are above yours at an expanded level, then like you'll assume like I gotta aspire to that. And so we do kind of climb. But the thing is sucks is it is a matter of the information, the books, the courses. But a lot of us get this what I call shelf esteem, right?
Uh-huh.
I buy it and it sits on the shelf of my house or my computer or my course is unopened, right? Or I consume it too much of it and it sits on the shelf of my mind. And I feel good that it's there, but it never goes into my life. And typically it's because I don't have the capacity that somebody else does that allows them to learn and rapidly translate that to quick action. And I look at that and go, that's the capacity thing. And there's a process to expand it. We all do it. It's like 5 steps that we all do. We all, as a trigger, something happens. I got to do this, some, impending thing. I assess what's going on. Like I take a look at what's going on. Can I do it? What's the situation? I make a quick plan or a long plan. Then I go ahead and say, okay, let me prepare for this. I'll read this, consume this, practice this. But then there's the action. And a lot of people get stuck here. And what they do is they either have imposter syndrome, which is, I don't identify with that. I can't take an unconfident action, so I don't. Or they get to this point of they take a low threshold action, which is a sub, action that doesn't really have me expand. And so I have more proof that I'm not capable. The only solution is I've gone through all that. I must take that uncomfortable action at a bold level that allows me to go, oh, maybe I can do more. And then when it feels uncomfortable, because this is the last piece of it all, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Like it's not you. It's going to feel too fast. It's too much. I can't, right? And that moment I go, hey, if you're a race car driver and you know the goal is to go 180 miles an hour, but at 120, you get freaked out. If you're a race car driver and you let off the gas or press the brake, you're going to be afraid of going 120. You'll never reach 180. The goal is to say, how do I normalize to this speed? That's expansion. I'm there as opposed to slowing down. Let me grab the steering wheel. Go ahead and just hold on to this bad boy, and I'm going to find a way to accelerate and go faster. And it's in that moment we truly expand, and what was hard before becomes easy. Now it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I read the books, the courses, I do the things, and I give me more, give me more, give me more, because you have the capacity to do so.
Let's talk a little bit about when the shift hit the fan
Yeah.
with your gym.
hmm So in 2009, I had opened this new gym, right? This realm of like excitement. I'm gonna open this thing and be a coach and train. And then you realize that life is what happens between your plans. And so next thing I know, 9 months in, I'm looking at bankruptcy in my business if I don't figure out how to pay more money than I have in the bank and navigate this. And so I had people in my life, my wife, my best friend, like, hey, chalk it up, take the L, go just file bankruptcy, start again. I was like, no, I got to figure this out. And so I leaned back in and I did something that was not wise, but it was actually probably the smartest thing. I don't know if wise. It wasn't smart, but it was wise. So I hired a coach. I had $4,000 left. I hired a $6,000 coach and said, "You're not getting your 2,000 unless we make the money to be able to pay you." And fast forward like 4 months, we had, I think we'd quadrupled the revenue, paid him back, and then some. And we're able to invest in the future. And really for me, that was like a microcosm of the world. Like I'd started in this situation of excitement. I was faced with the reality because I didn't know what I was actually going to be doing. And then in business, that's how it works. There's a plan, there's ideas, and you're all optimistic. And then you're met with like, oh, well, that didn't work. And that didn't work. I didn't know what I was doing. And then we keep going down a rabbit hole. But what we typically do is we let our ego protect us and go, it's not as bad as it is. No, it's worse. And so in that, I was like, man, and then I realized that, hey, I'd been doing something well before this when I became the best in the world. When I was the best in the world at, one of the best playing professional football, I always had a coach. Now the coach couldn't play as good as me, but when I could see what's in front of me, he could see the field. And I thought that I was going to be successful by just seeing the guy in front of me, what was going on, but I needed someone to see the field. So what I did in that step was I stepped back and go, okay, I need someone that can see the field, tell me where I should be playing, what I should be doing, and help me. And that was the biggest catalyst to what I do now is I've always had someone I can lean on to ask questions, to be transparent with me of what I got to work on. Who am I being as an identity that I'm not aware is hurting my business or hurting my goals, and then listen to them, right? And then make adjustments and not be afraid of looking different, because I'm really big on, I think some of the hindrances in business is people taking that, not just unconfident, out of character actions. There's a thing where we don't want to be seen as out of character, but the reality is out of character is not bad. Out of character could be you being a better speaker, or more, boisterous, person with your message. Out of character could be the person that's more disciplined and consistent and focused, right? Not your typical character, but that kind of character wins. If you're afraid of doing that, it's going to be a problem. You're never going to have the success you want. So I had people that would literally point it out and then hold me accountable to that. And I would do those things. And then lo and behold, like magic, things started happening well. And I think that was for me one of the most important and still critical pieces of anybody's success is stepping out of yourself, having the ability to subdue your ego, take some insight, and then actually do the things you're being asked to do, no matter how uncomfortable they may feel.
That follow through, that perspective, and the accountability and the support, right? The seeing the things you can't see because you don't know what you don't know. So
No.
having the coach, having the circle of friends, getting into proximity with people who can point out the things that you're not seeing, right? And then hold you accountable and give you an action plan to get there.
Oh, it's yeah, the people and process are a big piece of it. I mean, we could talk about this all day long. There are at the end of the day, it's just people and process. If you have people that celebrate you and give you everything, but no process to follow, you do not succeed. If you have process with no people to keep you accountable, to keep you clear, you don't succeed. You must have the right people and the right process. And so if you are out there operating off of just sheer drive, determination, want to be self-made, you're going to struggle the same way I did. Everybody else does. It's not rocket science, but there's this part of us that we don't want anyone to think we had to have any help. Doesn't make sense to me. It's the oddest, it's the most odd situation because, like, even you're growing up, you needed help from your parents. I don't know what we have this infatuation with needing to be a person that did it on my own with nobody's help. Look at me. No, man, like, don't do that. It's not going to help you. The best that you can do is to go out there and be bold enough and confident enough in self. And actually, I think it's a service thing If you are unable to ask for help, you are more trying to serve your ego than you are the people you're trying to serve. Because the moment that it goes outside of you and you're like, I really want to help people, for me, make a shift in their identity to expand their capacity. If that's what my focus is, I don't care who I have to get to help me to get there. That's what I want to do. For most people, I think when they get into the space of trying to help people, they're trying to look good for themselves so that people want their help, if that makes sense. Suppose there's going, I'm going to do whatever is necessary to help you.
Yeah. And that drive, that focus of service, the getting outside yourself, is that a power that you were able to really harness each time uh, things got wonky, each time shift happened in business or the shift hit the fan, to really stop, go back to your why, get outside yourself, refocus on the service, recalibrate, get that help, and then get back up and keep going.
Even shorter than all of that, I started to identify with the efforts. Everything you just said, I identify as the guy that's gonna give the effort and try the things. I may botch it, I may look stupid, like, "Oh, hey guys, try it," like, I'm fine with that because I wanna be known as in my own terms, a guy who tried. That's it. That's how you make this amazing life, you make shift happen. I do TV show stuff and weird things, but it's like, I'm just gonna try it because I am not the fruit. I'm not the outcome. No matter what happens, the outcome is even if it's not a great outcome, right? It sucks, it fell off the face of the earth, it was horrible. I am not that thing. I'm the guy who tried at least. So everything you're saying, it's like I just think if we can start to identify as a person that gives the effort and that's what you celebrate, then you're going to find that you almost inevitably have more success. Because I think it's just a matter of our ability to go past the comfort threshold in an action level that will allow us to have the thing we want most. And we even find that the back end of doing all those things, if you enjoy doing that and it becomes normal, there are people that if we're around, seriously, when you're around individuals playing at a higher level, if you sit in the room with them, you will feel like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
It's never failed. I walk into a room with people that are doing more, maybe making more pull, more reach. The things that they say, I go, my brain would have never thought of that. Right. And the only way they got there was because they started to identify with the efforts, not just the outcome. And when that becomes what you do, it's almost like yeah, why wouldn't you do that and say that and call those people? What do you mean you wouldn't try that? Like, are you serious? What do you expect to have success? You haven't even tried that thing. It's like, oh, because I was worried about looking bad or feeling bad or failing at that thing, the outcome, as opposed to, man, I'm gonna try this. Hey guys, watch me do it. I'm gonna go do it. Hold my beer,
Yeah.
that mentality. That's what the winners have.
What's something that you wish someone would have shared with you that you had to learn the hard way?
It's not about you. That was the
Mm.
that was this it's kind of going back to the same thing I talked about is I used to go out on stages and think about how I looked and what I was wearing and, what I was gonna say, and I'd be in my head. I'd never be in the hearts. I'd be so focused inward, I was never focused outward. And at times someone was like, "Bro, it's not about you. Like, it's not about your story. It's not about what you've experienced. It's about what you can extract to give to people from that experience." And I go, "Oh." So then you start going on, like, as soon as I get on a stage, I don't care about how I look. It's like
Mhm.
comical if I do something to where I don't care because I realize I am taking something from their life, time. And if I'm gonna
Mhm.
take time, I better give you something better back. So I choose to do that, and the only way I can is if I don't care about me as much as I care about them. I say it's you either expand on demand or when crap hits the fan.
Uh, I love that. That is
Yeah.
absolutely true. That is, yes.
We do. We wait till we're up against it when I'm broke or the marriage is falling apart or I got the doctor said something going on, then we move. It's like, well, why don't you expand in purpose to where it's like I look at it like metaphorically an image, right? Let's say I have 5 things in my house that I want to power on, right? My computer and the lights, right? 5 plugs. Well, what if you have 5 in your life, right? Maybe you have this aspiration to have the marriage and the parenting and the health and the hobbies and a business, right? But in our houses, we typically only have 2 outlets. So what I do is I'm trying to unplug one and plug another one in. This is where we get to this point of we don't have the capacity, right? So I'm trying to either figure out the perfect combination, right? I'm going to have just my marriage and my health in. Well, then all of a sudden the business falters. Okay, you got to work on something else. Let me unplug the business, put the health in there. Well, now you have no money, but your marriage is good, right? Let me take that, put the business in. Well, now you're in shape and your business is good, but so we're trying to power these, and I go, no, no, no. The goal isn't to frantically unplug and plug or find the perfect combination. The goal to expand capacity. so I can plug all 5 of those in and have room for more because as you do more, you experience more and you want to be able to have more hobbies, more friends, more things. And it's not a matter of trying to find the perfect combination, but it's like, hey, how do I have enough plugs to power this?
What do you do to fuel your tank so that you have the the energy to try the things, the energy to constantly serve, the energy to to align and remain aligned?
Yeah.
What's your self-care practice?
It's my capacity stuff because capacity again, it's just a matter of your mental and physical ability to power your production, your performance, and your operation. That's it, mental and physical, right? So on a mental stage, I like to make sure I'm very present in the moments I'm present. My coach in college laid this on me years ago. It took me years to get it, but he says, "Be where you are when you are." I'm here with you right now. I'm not on my email. I'm not on my phone. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm present. And so, because of that, it allows me to be so present here that when I leave this space, I don't feel guilty about not serving in that space, not doing something amazing. And in the next space, I can do the same thing. If you're just present in the moments that you've planned for yourself, you find you get so much more done and you feel guilt free as you progress through life. So it's the first piece of it mentally, right? I also meditate, I read, I learn, I do the things that my brain likes to do and things that it doesn't so I can strengthen it and grow it to where eventually what's hard becomes easy. It's a mental side. Physically, I think we have this weird perception that our body is designed to carry our brain around. It is not. Your body is designed to fuel your brain. If you do certain things below the neck, it actually makes everything above the neck happen better, more efficient, with less stress. And so for me, I have a training regimen. I actually have massage therapists, physical therapists, chiropractic, personal trainer, nutritionist. I do. I have as much now for my body as I did when I played in the NFL. And I'm not running around and tackling people anymore. The idea though is I realize that whenever I move my body and take care of this, it allows my brain to function better. It levels off dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. I can create more BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor, so I can study more, I can pay attention more, I can remember more. So I'm of more value to the world. The more value I bring to the world, the better my life gets. More freedom, more time, more fun. Like it's a cycle. And so it's only because I've expanded my capacity on demand. I don't want to get to a point where I can't handle the life I've created for myself, even if it's success. And so I'm purposely always in a space of I'm not going to wait for a trigger that throws me. I'm going to create the trigger and get better, get fast, get stronger, lift some more weight, run fast, get some more cardio, right? Hey, read more books. I'm going to trigger it. I'm going to assess who I am right now and see what do I got to work on. I got to do that. Cool. Make a plan for my stuff, make a plan of what I'm going to do. I practice what I have to practice. I practice not just to practice, I practice to be a champion. I think a lot of us just read the book to read the book, take the course, take the course. No, I'm practicing to teach it, to be able to embody it, to imply it in my life, right? And then when it comes to the actions, I'm going to do things that are uncomfortable on purpose. I'm not going to wait for crap to hit the fan. I'm going to do it on demand. So I'm going to try that thing and go, oh, let's do it. And I'm going to lean in. And then now I'm in the place of control of my life that's different from anybody else that I know.
Absolutely. So you're doing it intentionally, training yourself on demand.
Yeah, you have to.
So,
Yeah, if not,
yeah,
you're just waiting on life to throw you a bone or hoping you survive the situation or you get prepared for it. They say stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
yeah. Stay ready and design your life with intentionality.
Yeah,
Have have the plan that you love so that you are living the life that you love in that alignment, in that identity, with the capacity that you desire. I love it. You have developed these muscles, and now you go out and you have your podcast. You are a sought after speaker. You have your best selling book, and you have a wide variety of programs to help people really shift their identities and then step into their full life.
yeah,
So, talk to us about some of your programs and services.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, I'm not a big fan of a bunch of information, right? So the idea of shifting an identity, nobody woke up and goes, "Man, I really want to shift my identity today." Nobody said that. But what people do know is like, man, I wish I could feel more on top of things. I feel like I wish I could get more done. I wish I could feel like I had this confidence, not that frantic unplugging, plugging, but something I call hustle harmony. We all have these are like different parts of hustle. Hustle my marriage, hustle for my parenting, right? And the idea is if you can have them all plugged in and room for more, you'd be in what I call hustle harmony. Everything getting the power it needs to actually operate and function. No burnout. You feel at peace. And so what I look at as my process we use is called the shift method. You shift out of hustle headaches and into hustle harmony. it is a state of how you flow. So it is identity, but it's really more tangible for people to go, oh, I'm going to actually help and develop this skill of expanding capacity. So when I said I don't like a bunch of info, we've got enough in this world nowadays. I think there are enough books and course and programs for the time being, right? In time, you need more. But for now, most people have a lot of this stuff. The issue isn't, do I have enough? The issue is, do I have the capacity to consume this, learn it, and rapidly translate that to action? And that's an issue people don't have, answered right now. So when I come in, I go, hey, I'm going to help you expand your capacity and develop the skill of doing it. Not learn a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to show you how to develop a skill, because a skill is a repeatable thing you can do that actually gives you a result immediately, but you get better at over time, to where over time, eventually, this skill of, let's say I'm a painter. In the beginning, it's hard to paint. After a while, you paint without even thinking about it. There's a whole story about, was it Picasso? He's at a restaurant, and someone walks up, says, can you give me a little picture on a napkin? He goes, yeah, it's 15,000. They go, you did it in 60 seconds. No, I did it in the last, 40 years.
Yeah.
What you saw me do it. If not, you would have made this picture yourself, right? See, the idea is it's a skill, and eventually becomes something you don't even, it's second nature to you. So I help people develop that skill of capacity expansion, so that what they are trying to accomplish can actually be accomplished.
Everybody run and connect with Anthony. He has been through so many things, and he has been able to develop this skill, and now he imparts it when he's speaking in his books and his podcasts and his programs. Get into proximity with this man. So
Yeah.
you've had a lot of coaches and mentors. You've been around the best.
Mhm.
What's the best piece of advice someone's given you?
Mm. It's from one that I've never personally met of all, but I saw him a couple times speak. A guy named Harvey McKay. I don't know him personally. Just I saw him speak, and he said this thing, and he said, "The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement."
Wow.
I like it, and
The
it's just like,
biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
that's it. Yeah, if
Mic
you think
drop.
about it, yeah, it's a very simple yet powerful thing. It's this I've never arrived mentality. I'll always learn, always enjoy the learning process. There's never gonna be a day that I know everything, because they say you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know it. So I'm gonna continue to keep expanding and learning.
Let's imagine you're coming to the end of your life and you've left it all on the field.
Yeah.
You've left it, you've lived that life, you've climbed the peaks, you've been the father, your kids are happy, you've been the husband, you have left it all on the
Mhm.
field. What do you want them to say about you? What do you want to be remembered for?
It's a great question. I always say the last person you wanna meet in your deathbed is the person you could have been. And so I think about that often. I talk about it often. And I think for me, at the end of my days, as long as the people who are closest to me know that they were the most important parts of my life, then I'm good. If you think about it, 1,000 years from now, like, very few people are gonna be remembered, or remembered the correct way, right? So in the end of the day, for me, it's just, are the people that mattered most to me aware that they mattered the most to me?
So you serve so powerfully, and service is really a hallmark of your life. I know that you give back in the community. I know that you do a lot behind the scenes. So tell us one organization that we can get behind, that we can support, that is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, there's one that I sit on the board of. It's called the National Angels. You go to, it's just nationalangels.org is a great organization. As a foster kid, one of the closest things in my heart is a foster youth. And so there are a lot of people that go, Anthony, do you serve the foster youth? Because it'd be great. And I go, yeah, I do, but you're not going to see it heavily in the public. It's my time to serve them at a human level, not like a make me look good. So yeah, nationalangels.org is a great organization that I love and I'm proud to sit on the board of.
So, how can people connect with you and find out more about your work?
Yeah, best place to go is if you go to anthonytrucks.com. You can find about our work there. Follow me on social media is a great place. And if you want to grab the book, you can go to identityshiftbook.com.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Any parting words that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, man, go out there and live a life worth telling a story about. I want to have my grandkids come to my house and want to always come to the house because I got cool stories for some reason. And so for me, I think that's all about making shift happen. right? You got to go out there, and the reason I say shift is you have to shift something inside, right? How you see things, that then shifts the actions that change your life in the long run. So go out there and make shift happen.